What if I told you that sometimes the people working the hardest in silence are the ones carrying the heaviest burdens? A broken bar. And what if one man with power, disguised as an ordinary worker, discovered a truth that would change not only his company, but his own heart forever? It all began when Daniel Mercer, the CEO of one of the largest restaurant chains in the country, decided to go undercover. He had built his empire from a small family-owned diner, but over the years, as his company expanded into hundreds of locations, Daniel realized he had grown distant from the struggles of the people working at the very bottom. He wanted to see for himself what was really happening behind the polished ads, the numbers, and the polished reports his managers handed him every month. So, with a fake name, a simple uniform, and a backstory of just being a new hire, he walked into one of his busiest branches and clocked in for a dishwasher shift. It didn't take long for him to notice something strange. Among the clattering plates, steaming water, and endless trays stacked high with grease, there was a man who seemed to never leave. His name was Miguel, a quiet man, thin, with dark circles under his eyes, and a calm determination in every move. Miguel washed dishes faster than anyone Daniel had ever seen, but what struck him most was how long he worked. Daniel arrived for his shift at noon, and Miguel was already there. He left at midnight, and Miguel was still there. And when Daniel returned the next morning, somehow, Miguel was still standing in the same spot, sleeves rolled up, hands raw from hot water and detergent. Daniel, still in disguise, asked one of the other employees about him. They whispered, "He works double shifts almost every day, but the manager of Broken Bar doesn't pay him for the extra hours, says it's just part of the favor he owes for keeping the job." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to explode, to reveal who he was and shut the whole thing down right then. But he stayed quiet. He needed to see more, to understand more. Over the next few days, Daniel learned pieces of Miguel's story. Miguel had crossed the border years ago, leaving behind a family he hadn't seen in almost a decade. Every cent he earned went back home via to his mother, his siblings, and a young daughter he hadn't held since she was a toddler. Miguel didn't complain. He didn't protest. He simply worked, as if his hands were carrying not just dishes, but the weight of his family's future. He never smiled, except when he looked at a crumpled photo of his daughter during his short breaks. That tiny smile broke Daniel's heart. One night, after an especially grueling 16-hour shift, Daniel sat with Miguel outside by the dumpsters. They shared a bottle of water, and Daniel, still pretending to be just another dishwasher, asked why he didn't stand up to the manager. Miguel looked at him and said softly, "Because even a little job a broken bar, even unfair a broken bar is better than no job. My family depends on me. If I stop, they don't eat." His voice cracked, but he held back tears. In that moment, Daniel realized something he had forgotten in all his years at the top. Behind every paycheck is a story. Behind every worker is a fight no one else can see. The breaking point came a week later when the manager berated Miguel in front of everyone, telling him he had to stay overnight again or risk being let go. Miguel, exhausted but silent, nodded and returned to the mountain of dirty trays. That night, Daniel could no longer stay silent. The very next morning, he called a meeting, this time, not as the dishwasher Dave, but as Daniel Mercer, the CEO. The look on the manager's face was priceless. But Daniel didn't waste time with anger. Instead, he walked straight to Miguel, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "You don't work for free anymore. Not here, not ever again." Then he turned to the staff and announced sweeping changes and no more unpaid hours, stricter oversight on managers, and new support programs for employees struggling with housing, family, or legal aid. But Daniel wasn't done. He did something no one expected. He invited Miguel to share his story at the company's annual conference. Nervous and trembling, Miguel stood before hundreds of executives and employees, telling them about his sacrifices, his daughter, and how invisible he had felt until someone finally noticed. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Months later, Daniel helped Miguel reunite with his daughter by sponsoring her visa process, giving him a stable salary, and ensuring he had time off. When Miguel finally hugged his daughter at the airport, Daniel was there too, watching quietly from a distance. In that embrace, He saw the very meaning of why he started the business in the first place, not just to make money, but to change lives. And so, what began as an undercover mission to check on his company ended as a powerful lesson. Leadership is not about titles or profits, it's about humanity. Daniel uncovered not just the injustice of one man's suffering, but the resilience, love, and sacrifice that too many workers hide behind their tired smiles. And through one man's story, an entire company changed. So I'll ask you again, what if the person washing dishes in silence carries the greatest story of all? And what if you're in a position to know this, to help, to change something? Because sometimes, the smallest act of compassion can uncover the biggest truths.